I hope not, none of this stuff.
Thank you.
So Melendez, thank you for your service, sir. We do appreciate it. Okay. Now moving to employee recognitions. Who's handling those first?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Board. We're recognizing the employees of the month, but we also have some quarterly employees in the mix, and this is the operations transportation side. So I'd like to recognize the following employees, and I'd like them to stand when I call their names and remain standing until we're done, and then we'll do the traditional photo op with everyone. Paratransit operator Jamie Correa. I don't think Mr. Correa is in the audience today. We did invite him, but I don't think he was available. HART Plus van operator Jamie Correa, chosen as operator of the month for July 2019. He was hired in June of 2005. Jamie has received awards and certificates for safe driving, operator of the month in 2012, third place in the 2007 rodeo, and outstanding customer service. He enjoys helping his patrons, and especially those with disabilities. Operator of the month for 2019, streetcar motorman Connie Cosme. Connie was hired on April 30, 2001, and was the first female motorman to join the streetcar. She enjoys watching the children's faces as they approach a streetcar station and the elderly passengers who reminisce of their younger days on the streetcar. Connie was voted best motorman by Creative Loafing's Best of the Bay and has been the recipient of the On the Spot Award for her outstanding customer service. Operator of the month for September 2019, HART Flex operator Rodney Barbie. Rodney joined HART in June of 2013. He has enjoyed every minute of his time here at HART. He says that the most special part of his job is his customer. He also loves his HART family. Rodney is one of our operators who has attended and completed our Certified Operator Instructor Training Program. Looks forward to helping new operators learn the job. In his spare time, Rodney enjoys making natural soaps. It smells really good. And then we have from our supervision team, Teamster of the Quarter for the third quarter of 2019. Transit Supervisor Steve McKinney. He was hired on June 14 of 2002 as a bus operator. Mr. McKinney soon promoted to transit supervisor. He enjoys the diverse task of his job requires, and he says that he works great with people. Father of three, he enjoys basketball, fishing, and playing hockey in the driveway with his boys. If we'll please give a round of applause for those applause.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning. Scott Rainbow, Deputy Chief of Fleet Facilities Maintenance. I'd like to recognize the following maintenance employees. For Maintenance Employee of the Month for July of 2019, Gary Warden. Gary's a master paint and body technician and has been with HART since March of 2015. Gary has played a key role on multiple projects, including vehicle surveillance cameras and driver safety shields. His leadership abilities to be a liaison between all departments has been immeasurable to our organization. Thank you, Gary. For Maintenance Employee of the Month for August of 2019, Ismael Rivera. Ismael is a fleet master mechanic and has been with HART since April of 2002. Ismael routinely completes his PMI assignments accurately and on time, clearly identifying all the defects. He's a star performer in the PM shop and consistently puts service before himself to complete the task at hand. For Maintenance Employee of the Month for September 2019, Mohan Hanuman, as we know him as Rai. Mohan is a fleet master mechanic and has been with HART since October. For Storekeeper Employee of the Quarter, third quarter of 2019, David Arona. David is an inventory storekeeper and has been with HART since March of 2014. David was instrumental in the success of inventory's recent end-of-year audit. He identified parts that were obsolete and required removal from HART's current inventory. David is always willing to go the extra mile and fully understand and locate the parts the technicians are requesting. And for non-bargaining employee in the third quarter 2019, Nicholas Goldburn. Nick is a maintenance technical support coordinator and has been with HART since January of 2005. Nick has leveraged the enterprise asset management software for better utilization and streamlining for many maintenance activities, providing better data and oversight. He's also coordinated the JX75 installation on the paratransit fleet with our new on-site unleaded fueling station. Nick has been in this role in less than a year and has stepped up and took charge of the position with a fantastic attitude. He utilizes his natural leadership abilities daily to influence others to strive for excellence, making maintenance and HART a better place. Thank you, Nick.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It is my privilege to share with you this year's Bus Technician of the Year, Mr. Nick Cowood. Nick is a master and lead technician that has been with HART since August of 2002. Nick holds numerous certifications, including CNG, FSI tank inspections, 608 and 609 HVAC certifications. He also serves on the Safety Committee, PM Committee, and is a shop steward and trainer. He was nominated to represent HART in the 2019 Florida Public Transportation Association Technician of the Year. He is a top performer and logged more than 3,700 labor hours last year. Nick has the ability to make any problem look easy while maintaining his high quality standards. Nick Cowood is a great example of HART's dedication to the culture of excellence, and it is an honor to present him with the Technician of the Year award. Is he here? He is not here.
He's working.
This is what he does. And the Operator of the Year, Rafael Camacho. Mr. Camacho is the epitome of a professional operator in every aspect of his job performance. He takes every opportunity to broaden his transit knowledge and continues to showcase his expertise while being a certified operator instructor to incoming student operators as he helps them to learn their routes, assists them with reading and understanding their paddles, and constantly displays a positive attitude. As he is unceasingly aware of the importance of his role and understands the value he adds to the quality of life for his customers, he is also a constant source of encouragement and information to long-term operators who are attending refresher training following an extended absence. Mr. Camacho is a veteran operator. Hired by HART May 19th, 2014, he has also spent 27 years as a commercial and transit operator for other agencies. Prior to coming to the United States, Rafael was a bus operator in Puerto Rico for several years. Due to the recent hurricanes that hit that island, most of the records qualifying him as a 3 million mile safe operator were destroyed and are irretrievable. With Tampa drivers and traffic ranked as some of the worst in the state, driving 2 million miles or more without a preventable or non-preventable accident is an incredible accomplishment that has earned Mr. Camacho the respect of his fellow operators as well as HART management. During his tenure, Operator Camacho received the HART Operator of the Month award in March 2018. He has also been a top 10 finisher in the HART Rodeo for 2017, 2018, and 2019. Operator Rafael Camacho deserves this exceptional recognition for continuously demonstrating his ongoing commitment to his profession, his employer, his customers, and the community of Hillsborough County, which he serves so proudly. I want to thank you all for your hard work and dedication to HART.
May I please ask all of the recognized employees and recipients of awards to please come up in front of the board here so that we may take a group picture. Thank you.
I guess we need to come around here. You want the board member, you want the board to stand back here?
How are you?
I'll be all right. You're in here now.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service. I'm falling over.
I don't think this is permissible.
I don't know this is gonna work.
They need to be scissors.
This not gonna work. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Picture takers have to be at the ceiling.
That was the workers' comp case.
Yeah, right.
Take this with the photographer standing on the ladder.
Uh-huh. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, you got a lot more to read. Okay, Ms. House Stewart, since you've been thrust in this position, I don't think you have an executive right report at this particular point in time, do you?
No, this time.
Okay. And I think, I don't have a report either. The report I have was done by Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. One additional matter. I circulated to you, I believe I circulated to you, a memorandum regarding the additional directors that appear to be appropriate. And that summary was essentially that there is one director for each jurisdiction that's a member, and an additional director appointed for every 150,000 residents in that jurisdiction or major portion thereof. And I'm interpreting major portion thereof as 50% plus one. That's a major portion. And if you look at the memorandum, essentially the city is entitled to 4 directors now, and it only has 3 that are currently on the board. So there's an additional director that would be available for the city to appoint. Also, the county is entitled to 7 directors, and it currently, I think, only has 6 on the board. So there will be an opportunity for 2 new directors to be added. It's fortuitous that it's 2 because we'll still have an odd number, and we won't hopefully have even votes. But that will change your quorum. And the one issue that I mentioned in my memorandum is that this is pursuant to your charter. Your charter indicates these requirements pursuant to the population as determined as a matter of state law by the Department of Administration. Well, the Department of Administration doesn't determine population anymore. As I put in the report, it's a legislative body. I think it's the Office of Economics and Demographic Research. They do keep population. They do keep population on an ongoing annual basis. It is an estimate. It's not a census. Well, as you know, census is somewhat of an estimate as well. But it appears to be the only state legal basis. So I believe that meets the requirements of your charter because it is how the state law determines the population. And on that basis, I would recommend that you direct, I'm not entirely sure who, but direct us to move forward with alerting the city and the county to the fact that they're going to have an additional director they need to appoint. This is timely because the county literally, as you know, those of you on the county commission, are moving forward, I think, November 14th with your selection process. Mm-hmm. And so to know you have an additional director to appoint is important in that process. So what I'd like to do, if you have read my memo or you understand my presentation, that there be a motion to approve the addition of the 2 directors pursuant to the charter that governs Hillsborough Transit Authority.
There a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mechanic, second by Commissioner Chesler. Commissioner Overman, you recognize.
Thank you. To that motion, do we need to amend the charter prior to taking on that motion?
I don't believe you need to amend the charter, and this is a legal opinion, and this isn't one of those that I'd call apodictic. It's somewhat opinion-based, but I think the overriding requirement is that it be a manner determined by state law. I think that prevails over the denomination of the Department of Administration versus OERD. Okay. So I think you're moving forward in a manner consistent with your current charter. I would suggest, however, that we do look at changing, well, charter amendment can get to be complicated. Let me look at that process just for clarification on a future basis so that we don't have this issue as it comes up, if it comes up again in the future.
Great, thank you.
Let me ask a question. So after this motion is approved, will a information be written to, even though she serves on this board, and I serve on this board, to the mayor and to the chairman of the county commission stating that we need to add one more member from our jurisdictions to the board?
If the board so approves the motion, I believe that is what the interim CEO will do.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion? Commissioner Smith, you recognize.
Thank you. I know we have, I'm trying to count the representatives from Hillsborough County. I know we have 4 from the county commission, and I know who those are. But I thought Mr. Mechanic, Mr. Harden, and Mr. Knight were also from Hillsborough County, so that would make 7.
If
So
you've got 7 now, you're not adding one because you're only entitled to 7 based on the population.
that's what I
I thought
thought.
you had 6.
5, 6, 7, you're right.
So we're good.
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Hillsborough County representatives, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Kemp, Commissioner Over, myself, Mr. Mechanic, Mr. Harden, and Mr. Knight.
That does add up to 7.
That's 7. That is- So
And
the
I was a
only-
math major. believe me.
the only addition would be
This is for the city.
For the
the
city.
city. Well, Mr. Let me back up. That gives us an even number.
Even number.
Would the governor then appoint or replace with Mr. Harden?
The governor's had a vacant seat for a long time, and now I believe Mr. Melendez was a gubernatorial
Mr.
appointee. I don't think we have anybody from the governor's office right now. So we have,
We have Mr. McLean.
oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
But he
McLean.
has another one.
We do have
Maybe
another
Mr. Harden.
appointment. I have communicated with the governor's office. I will follow up again.
Okay.
It's been quite a while.
Okay.
Mr. McLean, as you know, stayed on for almost 4 years without the governor acting. His term had expired, but he stayed in and served.
Okay. Commissioner Kemp, you recognize.
Recognizing, because I hadn't thought about this formula, so we now have 3 from the city, and we will have 4?
Yes.
Okay. And that's, state the formula again, please.
The formula is you have one by virtue of being a member, and then you have additional appointees based upon 150,000 residents or a major portion thereof.
So, and right now, the city has gone over that mark, because that would be, they would have, to do that, it would be how many, 300 and?
I think the number's in the summary, and I think what
Sorry.
they have, no, that's all right. And I don't appear to have the summary with me this morning, but it was basically, I think, 383,000. Here's my memorandum, thank you very much. So focused on the first item. 378,531 residents. So essentially what they have is the 300,000 gives them 2 additional, with the one they've got, that's 3. And the 78,531 is a major faction above 150. So that's their 4th member.
Okay, great.
We need another 10 or 12,000 people.
You're
I
real
do-
close.
It would seem that should deal with this, because
We're gonna get another 12,000 before the next meeting, so.
Yeah.
we
Same
won't
with
have
us.
facility
We're gonna
people
build
in.
this whole dais, is gonna be out in the hallway soon.
Okay, so the motion was, you need to withdraw your motion because we included Hillsborough County in that motion. So would you withdraw your motion? Who made the, I think Mr. Schessler seconded. So would you withdraw your motion and then make the motion with the city of Tampa? Okay.
Make the motion to add the additional City of Tampa representative.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Schessler, or Councilman Schessler, second by Mr. Mechanic, to add another representative of the city of Tampa to the board. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. Motion is adopted. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Presentation, overview of November 2017, 2019 service changes. Mr. Cochran?
Morning, board members. Chris Cochran, Director of Service Development. This morning, I'd like to have the opportunity to present to you our proposed November 17th service changes that will give us an opportunity to make some minor changes to the system, and give you a nice overview of those here. First of all, want to, some of you here, I don't believe we presented to you exactly the process that we go through in evaluating how we decide we are going to make those changes. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of that so you have a good understanding of how the line of communication between the public and internally gets to service development and how that's translated into changes in the system, as well as how we evaluate the data to make these decisions. In line with the union contract, we are required to make at least 3 service changes a year that really allows for the operators to choose different pieces of work throughout the year and allows them an opportunity to do something different besides what they've been doing for 4 months. Now, that is a minimum. There are opportunities for us to do more service changes beyond the 3 if we have to. I believe in the past we've done up to 7. It's certainly not something we would like to do if we have to. That's a big burden on our public, but it is an option for us, and knowing that we have significant changes coming in the future, that's something to keep in mind. Again, we have a great line of communication between both our internal and external employees and customers to provide their experience related to on-time performance, technical issues that they may be having with our real-time app. We certainly get comments from you all, board members, that are forwarded to us. We have an application called See Click Fix that the public can directly report to us. Issues that they are having, and we log all of those, and they are forwarded on to our scheduling department. We meet on a bi-weekly basis with a large group of individuals. At this point in time, it's nearly 24 that spans all departments of the agency to discuss upcoming changes and ensuring that we are on the same page in how we are making these changes, how it's being disseminated to the public, ensuring that we have enough buses and other issues that we may run into in making these changes. Some of the other evaluations that we look at, certainly traffic congestion is a serious issue that we look at in this county, and that we have detours on a regular basis. And if we know that those detours are going to be for an extended period of time, we have an opportunity in these markup periods to be able to adjust running times to ensure that we are making proper connections and that the real-time technology that we have out there and the paper schedules that we have and information that we're putting out on social media are giving people the correct information. And then ultimately, all of this is really to improve the customer experience and allow to improve for better connectivity. One of the biggest feedback issues that we have with people is that their bus pulls up and the one they're looking for is pulling away right when they get there. So this allows us the opportunity to build in some extra running time into certain routes to ensure that there's proper connectivity at key junctions throughout the system. The second key area of focus here is really managing the financial performance, and this is where we really take a deep dive into the data that we collect throughout the 4 months of the markup period. We look at the 3 primary productivity measures that are really a standard in the agency, and that's the passengers per revenue hour, the passengers per revenue mile, and ultimately a cost per passenger measure. These are really allow us a way to normalize a really large data set that we collect on an ongoing basis, both from our fare boxes as well as our automatic passenger counters, as well as in conjunction with finance. In this particular service change, give some kudos to our scheduling team. This particular one, we were able to, we have a new manager, Kevin Hoyt, who came to us from a couple other local agencies, along with our scheduling team. They were able to bring down the average weekly schedule time by 9 minutes. And prior to that, the average schedule time for a weekly driver was 44 hours and 20 minutes. It's now 44 hours and 11 minutes, and while that may not seem like a whole lot of time, It has lowered our total scheduled overtime, and it equates to well over $50,000 in savings just for the next, if we continue with that through an annual basis. And we will continue to look at ways that we can schedule that to make those schedule improvements. I think what's important to that is combining that with the employee success and ensuring that we are, that these changes that we are making, we did not have any impact on having to cut any drivers. We maintain the same amount of full-time employees. In fact, we are on a rigorous hiring blitz, if you will, to continue to hire more drivers. We are still in need of a couple dozen plus drivers to fulfill our needs. With that, we are also, the scheduling team, one of the complaints that drivers have is to have too many split shifts in their schedule. With those improvements, we're able to do so with only one increased split shift out of the nearly 300 total rosters that were bid on for this last bid. So that was a big success as well. And I'll show you a couple routes that we were able to make some time adjustments based on operator feedback as well. We'll start with Route 16. There are 4 routes that we are making very minor changes to this go-around. We're looking at minor weekday time adjustments on the last trip of the Route 19, and we've added 10 minutes to the last trip to allow for better late-night connections. That's both a timing issue, but really more importantly, a safety issue to ensure that we're able to pick up our customers late at night and get them to where they need to be on that last trip. That's really, the last trip is often the most critical trip for people. Beyond that, there is no way for them to get home. Route 16 is a very good route. It does very well, picks up a lot of employees. So we have had the opportunity to make those adjustments to make for the better connections at night. Route 30, this is one of the 2 routes that we took some feedback from the operators and made some minor time weekday adjustments to ensure better on-time performance and again better connections throughout the length of the route, in particular at both ends with the airport and MTC as well. And then we also look at the Route 39, which was the second route that we took some driver feedback and made some minor weekday adjustments in the running times, where we saw both the 30 and the 39, where we saw that there were segments where the bus began to run late. We were able to add a little bit of time in there and take it from other areas of the route where it was running ahead of time. So we were able to compress and expand the route in appropriate places to ensure that it's running on time and as a reflected better in our schedules and providing better on-time performance and again, better connections at both ends. And then finally, the HART Flex up in Northdale. This is we had a couple of customers had some complaints about not being able to make the final connection there at Fletcher and Dale Mabry. With the Route 33 late at night, the last trip, the Flex does not run particularly late. And so we were able to adjust 5 minutes of the time. And the last trip in the evening, when it runs up near St. Joseph's Hospital, nothing's open up there at that point in time. So while we still run that fixed route, we do not wait up there at the northern end any longer. The driver will just swing through, and that's where we were able to make up the time. We looked at our ridership. We do not really ever pick anybody up there anyway at that point in time. So every now and then we get a passenger up there, but we will no longer be waiting on the last trip at the northern end. That allows it to get back to Fletcher and Dale Mabry 5 minutes earlier and make that connectivity with the 33 to provide better connectivity down there. And again, just to keep in mind, these are really our key areas of focus when we are doing our evaluations at this point in time. This is right in line with our success plan that is being rolled out this year, looking at customer experience, community value, financial performance, and employee success. So that's my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Corcoran. We appreciate your presentation. Commissioner Oberman, you recognize.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that. Having an understanding of how you've gone about the analysis for this is very helpful. One of my questions, I have two actually. One is, what element of transit-dependent communities goes into the process of evaluating your stops? And it relates to a previous request to evaluate the expansion or restoration of the stop at Williams Road and Broadway. There are going to be 344 families that are transit dependent. A good 20% of them will be transit dependent, moving to that area when the affordable housing project opens up this coming spring, which will further have a second phase, which will be more families. And there's also a senior community that's across the street from that stop. When we are going through this process of evaluating changes in our routes, where in the hierarchy is the transit-dependent communities as part of the consideration for changes? Because that's one that isn't there now. But if you consider the math, with the 20% of the 344, there are going to be a significant number of people that are emerging out of homelessness, which means if they're going to move there, they're going to need a bus service. And they're going to decide whether they're going to move there based on whether there is a bus service. So I think it's important that we sort of figure out a way to see where we are on that schedule.
Thank you for bringing that back up. And I do want to, with that, we do know that our, just inherently, our system carries well into the 70 percentile of our total ridership is transit dependent. So, you know, I think you can put our routes on the map, and you know that we do a good job of serving those transit dependent communities. That is the core of our ridership. That is part of the core of our mission and our values as an agency. With this particular project, we have been working with Ms. Springer at the Tampa Housing Authority to ensure that we are made aware of all the new projects coming on board, so that we can ensure that we are making the changes necessary to be able to serve those communities. And we are well aware of this is a big one, and there are a number of significant sized ones that with your help and others on the board are coming online here in the next couple of years. So
Great.
we can assure you that we will be on top of it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the attention.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
You have status reports in your packet, the ridership and productivity in the HART 2019 success plan. Move now into public comment from anyone wanting to speak on any general topics. None? Okay. Is there any old business? Any old business? Any new business? Commissioner Smith, you recognize.
Just briefly, I had the opportunity to tour the Operations and Maintenance Center last week, and it was a wonderful experience, and I learned a lot from the staff and from actually walking through the facility, and I recommend it to everyone. I wish I'd done it earlier. So I recommend that to everyone, and I just learned that there's something called a HART rodeo, so when that happens, I want to see that as well.
You're not riding the horses now. Okay, any other new business? Okay, the executive committee that was scheduled after this meeting is now canceled. There's no need for executive committee. Mr. Smith, do you need a closed session still?
Well, unfortunately, I don't believe we have any pending litigation that would allow us to have a closed session.
Okay.
So not at this point.
Okay, all right. With that, we'll adjourn.
Thank you.